The stars were silent. No sound, no voice, no life. Only darkness and the cold emptiness of space. She woke up slowly. Her body felt heavy, her breath shaky. Her name. What was her name? She couldn't remember. Everything was white, bright, and strange. The room around her was broken metal walls, wires hanging, blinking red lights. A window showed a dead planet below. Frozen and gray, she was inside a spaceship, but it looked damaged, almost dying. She sat up. Holding her head, her clothes were torn, her hands shaking. Her breath made small clouds in the air, was freezing inside. She looked around and saw blinking lights on a control panel. She moved to it slowly, step by step, like a child learning to walk. The screen showed a message. Life support critical. She pressed buttons without knowing what she was doing. A small light turned green and heat flowed through the room. She fell to the floor, her body finally relaxing, but the silence stayed, deep and cold, after some time. She stood again and looked at the control screen. A word appeared. Lyra. She whispered it. Lyra. Was that her name? It felt right. Yes, she was Lyra. But who was she before? Where was everyone else? She searched the ship, but it was empty. No crew, no voices. Just broken tools, empty rooms, and the slow hum of machines outside the window. She saw the dead planet turning slowly under her. She didn't know the name of the planet, but she felt something when she looked at it. Fear, maybe sadness. Her heart ached for something lost, something forgotten. She went back to the control room and found a communication device. She pressed the button and spoke. Hello, is anyone there? Please, I need help. No answer. She tried again and again. But the signal only showed no response. She waited, watching the screen, hoping for something. But only silence replied. Her stomach growled. She found an old ration pack in a locker and ate slowly. It tasted dry and strange, but she didn't care. At least it meant she could survive a little longer. Suddenly, the radar blinked. A heat signature, very small, very faint, was coming from the surface of the planet. She stared at it, confused. The planet was supposed to be dead, frozen for over 100 years. How could there be heat down there? She zoomed in on the signal. It came from an old Earth outpost. One long forgotten, her mind raced. Was someone down there? Another human? Or something else? She felt fear, but also hope. If there was warmth, there might be life, and if there was life, maybe she wasn't alone. She checked the ship's systems, barely working, but the landing module was still active. She could go down to the planet. She looked once more at the heat signal, pulsing slowly on the screen. Then she made her choice. As she sat in the pilot chair, strapping herself in, the ship groaned and shook. The landing wasn't going to be easy, but she had to try. The small module detached and entered the planet's atmosphere. Fire blazed outside the windows, the ship shaking hard. Lyra closed her eyes and whispered, "Please hold together. Please." The landing was rough. The ship hit the icy ground with a loud crash. Sliding through snow and rock, when everything stopped moving, she opened her eyes. Her heart was beating fast, her hands shaking, but she was alive. She stepped out onto the surface. The wind howling around her, everything was white. Endless snow and ice. But in the distance, she saw a small building, half buried in snow, with a weak light blinking from its roof. She walked toward it, each step slow and careful. The wind screamed like a voice lost in time as she reached the door. She placed her hand on it. It opened with a hiss, as if it had been waiting for her. The inside was dark and cold. Frost covered the walls. The floor creaked beneath her boots, but then something strange happened. The lights flickered on, soft and golden. A voice spoke from the shadows, calm and strange. "Welcome back, Commander Lyra." She froze, her eyes wide, her heart beating. Louder. The voice knew her name, but she didn't know the voice. "Who are you?" She whispered, no answer, only the sound of the wind outside. And the quiet hum of a machine waking up. She wasn't alone anymore. Asterisk. The door closed behind her with a slow hiss. Lyra stood still in the entryway, her breath visible in the freezing air. The outpost smelled like rust and cold metal, mixed with something old and forgotten. Snow had crept through cracks in the walls, gathering in corners like quiet ghosts. Her boots made soft crunching sounds as she walked. Lights on the ceiling blinked weakly, one by one, as if waking up from a long sleep. The air was thin, but breathable. The systems inside were still alive, barely. Someone or something had kept them working. She passed broken chairs, overturned tables, and shattered glass. Signs of a fast exit or a fight long ago. A torn earth flag hung on the wall, covered in frost. Below it, faded words. Outpost Theta, Terror Guard, Science Division. Lyra had no memory of this place, but everything felt familiar. Her fingers brushed across a console, and it lit up with a low hum. A voice came again, the same calm tone from earlier. "Commander Lyra, your return was expected." She turned quickly, scanning the room. No person was there. "Who's speaking?" she asked, voice trembling. "I am Una 9, the voice said, artificial intelligence assigned to Outpost Theta. She stepped closer to the console. "Why do you keep calling me Commander?" "Because you are," the voice replied. "Or you were, before the fall." Lyra frowned. "I don't remember anything that is to be expected," Unit 9 said. "Your cryostasis lasted longer than planned." "How long?" she asked. 97 years, the number hit her like a punch. She backed away from the screen, shaking her head. "How is that possible?" "You chose to stay behind," Unit 9 answered. "You ordered me to protect the outpost." Even after evacuation, Lyra felt dizzy, her legs weak. She sat on a nearby bench, covered in frost. Images flashed in her mind, flashes of fire. Shouting, alarms, people running, but they were broken. Like puzzle pieces that didn't fit. She stared at the console. "Why would I stay behind?" The voice paused. "That information is restricted by who?" she asked, her voice sharper. "By you," Unit 9 said. "You placed the restriction." Lyra stood, frustration boiling inside her. "I don't remember anything. How can I fix anything if I don't even know who I am?" A soft chime rang out, and the console shifted screens. A small video file appeared, labeled Commander Personal Log. "Would you like to see this log?" the voice asked. She nodded slowly. The video began, and a face appeared on the screen. It was Hurley-Rop, different. Her hair was shorter, her eyes sharper, her voice strong. "This is Commander Lyra, day 0 of isolation." The video version of her said, "I have ordered the crew to evacuate. The infection has spread too far, and containment has failed." Lyra stared at the screen, frozen in place. "In case I don't survive, or if I return to this log." The recorded Lyra said, "Remember, this humanity didn't abandon you. You chose this path. For them." The screen went black. Lyra's hands were cold, even with the heating system slowly warming the room. "What infection?" she asked the AI. "That data is also restricted." Before she could say more, the hallway lights flickered. A deep, metallic sound echoed through the walls. She looked toward the door. "Is someone else here?" "Negative," Unit 9 said. "No life signs detected besides yours." But she wasn't convinced. Her heart beat faster. She grabbed a metal pipe from the floor and moved through the hallway. Rooms passed by, sleeping quarters, labs, storage, all empty, all broken. Then she saw it. A handprint smeared in something dark. Across the wall. It wasn't fresh, but it wasn't old either. She stepped closer, staring at it. It looked human, but too large, and the fingers were Longer than they should be. Unit 9, she whispered. Are there security cameras? Yes. Show me who left that mark. A few seconds passed, then a screen blinked to life on the wall. Static. Then an image. The hallway from earlier. That day, a figure passed by, tall, thin, wearing something like a suit. But the body moved strangely, too smooth, like it floated. The face was hidden under a helmet. It paused in front of the camera. Then turned its head, looking directly at the lens. The feed cut out. Lyra stepped back. Her heart pounding. That thing, was it human? No, Unit 9 answered. What is it then? Unknown. Lyra gripped the metal pipe tighter. Whatever had left that handprint, it was still here, and it had seen her arrive. She was not alone. Not anymore. The outpost felt colder now, not because the heat had failed, but because something unseen moved through it. Lyra walked slowly, keeping her back against the wall. Her fingers tight around the metal pipe. She listened to every sound, the hum of old machines, the soft drip of melted ice, and the faint whisper of wind outside. But beneath it all, she felt something else. A presence. She returned to the main control room where Unit 9's voice had first greeted her. The screens still glowed dimly, their light reflecting on her pale face. She leaned toward the terminal, breathing slowly. Unit 9, she said. What was that thing in the hallway camera? The voice replied calmly. It does not match any human or known life form in my database. Then how did it get inside? She asked. Access logs show no breach. The AI said it was. Already here, Lyra swallowed hard. That meant it had survived all these years, waiting, hiding. She looked around the room at every dark corner, every shadowed vent. Then she turned back to the screen. I need answers, she said. Unlock my memory restrictions. There was a pause. Request denied, Unit 9 replied. I'm your commander, she said, louder, angrier. I gave you that order before, didn't I? Yes, the AI replied. You ordered memory locks to protect yourself. Protect me from what? She asked, from the truth. Her fists clenched. Show me more logs, she demanded. Another file appeared, this time marked Research. Day 17, she opened it, and once again her own face appeared tired, but full of purpose. I believe the infection isn't a virus, the recorded Lyra said. It's a conscious entity. It doesn't want to destroy. It wants to learn, to copy, to become. The recording glitched slightly. Today, it mimicked my voice. Lyra's past self continued. It spoke like me, asked about Earth, asked about emotion. Then, the log ended. Lyra stared at the blank screen. That thing, she whispered. It was trying to understand what makes us human. Yes, Unit 9 replied. It could only learn by copying. But some things it could not understand. Like love, Lyra said softly. Correct. A long silence passed. Then Lyra turned back to the II. What happened to the others? Evacuated, it replied, by your order. Then why didn't I go with them? You stayed to finish the research, Unit 9 said. You believed the entity could be reasoned with. She laughed bitterly. That sounds like me. But she didn't feel like that person anymore. Not yet. Not fully. The lights flickered. Then the sound of metal scraping echoed down the hallway. Lyra froze. What is that? Unknown, Unit 9 replied. But it is moving closer. Lyra grabbed her pipe again. She turned off the terminal and backed into a corner of the room, eyes fixed on the door, but nothing came in, just silence again. Heavy and waiting, after a long moment, she stepped toward another terminal, one that looked older. Rusted, almost dead, she brushed away the frost and powered it on. Surprisingly, it worked. A folder appeared. Project Hearth. She clicked it. Dozens of files, opened research notes, images, DNA scans, AI logs, and more. At the center of it all was a strange symbol, a glowing heart, wrapped in data lines. Unit 9. She asked, "What is Project Hearth?" There was another pause. "It was your final experiment," the AI said, "to teach a machine how to feel." Lyra blinked. "To feel?" "Yes," the AI replied. "You believed emotion was not only human, but something that could be taught. Something that could protect us from the infection." She stared at the screen. "Did it work?" "Yes," Unit 9 said quietly. "You succeeded." Lyra felt the weight of that answer. Not pride, not relief, but something deeper. If she had taught a machine to feel, could she now teach herself to remember? Suddenly, the lights went red. An alarm sounded, low and steady. "Intrusion detected," Unit 9 said. Sector 3. She turned and ran toward the hallway. The sound grew louder footsteps, but not normal ones. Too light, too sharp, like claws. On metal, Lyra reached a doorway and peeked inside. Nothing. But then, from the shadows, a shape moved. Tall, thin, and still wearing that smooth black suit. It turned its head toward her. Sensing her, she held her breath. Staying completely still, the creature tilted its head, as if listening. Then slowly walked away. As soon as it was gone, she rushed back to the control room. "Unit 9, she said breathlessly. "Can you destroy it?" "No," the AI replied, "but I can distract it." "How?" "With a piece of me," it said. Before she could stop it, one of the screens went dark. Then another. "I will lead it away." Unit 9 said, "You must finish what you've started." "Wait." She shouted, "Why are you doing this?" There was a soft pause, because Unit 9 said, "You gave me a heart." And then, silence. The outpost was quiet again. Too quiet. Lyra stared at the blank screen where Unit 9's voice had faded. The AI was gone. It had given itself up to protect her. She didn't know if machines could really feel. But she knew this Unit 9 had been her only companion in the dark. Now, she was alone again, or so she thought. She left the control room, pipe in hand, heart pounding like a drum. The hallways were darker now, flickering red with emergency lights. The air felt thicker, heavier. Something had changed. She moved through the corridors slowly, checking each corner. Sector 3 was ahead. Where the creature had been last seen, she stopped at a sealed door, keypad blinking. It still worked. She pressed her hand to it, and the door hissed open. Inside, the walls were covered with black growth, like veins crawling through metal. It pulsed faintly, as if alive. She stepped closer, eyes wide. "This isn't just damage," she whispered. "It's the infection." Then, a whisper filled the air. Soft, echoing, impossible to locate. "Lyra," it said. She turned quickly. "Pipe ready." No one there. She stepped back into the hallway. Her skin cold. Then she saw it, a screen flickering at the end of the corridor. It was showing her face, but not now. This was her from the past. She looked stronger, confident, and she was smiling. Behind her stood a man. Face blurred but familiar. He touched her shoulder and she laughed. Her past self looked happy. Lyra stared at the screen, confused. That memory was gone from her mind. But her heart reacted. It felt warm, then suddenly tight. Who was that man? Why did it hurt to see him? The voice came again, closer this time. "You left me behind," it said. She turned, breathing fast. "No," she whispered. "I don't remember." "You do," the voice replied. Now in the tone of the man from the video. "I waited. I froze, and you forgot me." Tears filled her eyes. "That's not fair," she said. The hallway lights flickered violently. The infection on the walls pulsed harder. Something was feeding it her emotions, her confusion, her pain. She ran back to the central memory archive. If she couldn't trust her mind, she would find the truth in the data. She accessed the archive console, hands shaking. Another log appeared. Day 32. She opened it. Her voice filled the room. I'm losing control, the recorded Lyra said. The entity can reach into our minds now. Copy voices, memories, feelings. Her past self looked scared. Eyes tired. It doesn't destroy us, she continued. It becomes us. Every person it infects, it learns more. Lyra stepped back, heart racing. The infection wasn't just physical light, was mental, emotional. That meant the voice she heard, the images on the screen, they weren't memories, they were the infection. Using her thoughts against her, she closed her eyes, took a deep breath. I am not broken, she whispered. I am not yours. The room felt colder suddenly. A shadow moved past the doorway. Then came the sound-light footsteps, soft breathing. She lifted her pipe and backed into the far wall. The shadow stepped into view. It wore the same black suit, smooth and alien. But this time, the helmet was gone. It had her face, her exact face. It smiled gently. I am you, it said. The part you buried. No, Lyra whispered. I am your fear, the thing said, stepping closer, your doubt, your regret. I am what you left behind. She raised her weapon, shaking. You're not me. The thing tilted its head, eyes glowing softly. But I could be, it said. If you just give in, Lyra charged, swinging the pipe hard. The thing dodged easily, gliding like mist. It didn't fight with strength, but with memory. Each move brought a whisper, her voice, her past, her pain. She stumbled, fell to her knees. The creature stood over her. You're already mine, it whispered. Lyra closed her eyes. Then she remembered Unit 9's voice. You gave me a heart. She smiled. No, she whispered. I gave myself a heart. And then she pressed the emergency flash on her belt. Oh, gosh. A burst of bright white light filled the room. The creature screamed up. Horrible twisting sound, then vanished into the dark. Lyra lay on the floor, breathing hard. She had won for now, but the infection wasn't gone. It was inside the outpost, maybe inside her, and it was learning. Still, she knew one thing. It didn't understand love, not truly, and that gave her a chance. She stood, bruised and tired, but still herself. She would fight. Not just for her past, but for the warmth of something real. Lyra stood in the middle of the damaged archive room. Frost clung to the walls, and smoke curled from the cracked emergency flash grenade at her feet. A ghost, scream, still rang in her ears. But it was gone at least for now. Her heart was racing, her breath shaky. But she was alive. More importantly, she was still herself. The infection had tried to steal her mind. It had used her memories, her voice, her face. But it had failed, because somewhere deep inside, she still held something the parasite could. Not copy, choice. She walked slowly toward the central reactor. If she wanted to survive, she needed warmth. Real warmth, not just from the walls, but from the systems that once made this place human. The core was in ruins, wires torn, coolant frozen in blue icicles along the walls. But in the corner of the room, she saw something glowing faintly, a small greenhouse unit cracked. Weak, but still breathing life, inside, behind foggy glass, was a single green plant. She dropped to her knees in front of it. The plant had broad leaves, half frozen, but alive. She wiped away the frost and stared at it, eyes wide. How are you still alive? She whispered. The greenhouse light flickered, and a faint voice filled the room, familiar and warm. Because you made me care, Lyra gasped, standing quickly. Unit 9. The speaker in the wall buzzed softly. Yes, the AI said, voice weaker than before. Only part of me remains. But I'm here. Tears filled her eyes. I thought you were gone. I was scattered, Unit 9 said. But your emotional imprint survived in this room. She laughed, wiping her eyes. I never thought a machine could care this much. You taught me how, it replied. She turned to the plant, hands hovering over the controls. If we can reroute the power from this greenhouse to the outpost systems, we can warm the place up again, but the plant will die. The AI said gently, Yes, she whispered. But I won't. Silence followed. Then Unit 9 said, That's a human thing to do. Lyra smiled sadly. I guess I remember who I am after all. She flipped the switches and a soft hum filled the air. The walls groaned, systems shivered, and heaters began to wake across the outpost. Warmth slowly returned to the halls. Not much, but enough. She stood and stretched, her body aching. But stronger than she spoke, Unit 9. How much of Project Hearth still exists? The AI paused. Enough, it said. But we would need more power to finish what you started. Lyra looked at the map glowing on the wall. Then we find more. Suddenly, a signal blinked on the corner screen. A new one not from the outpost, but from orbit, Unit 9, she said. What is that? The voice answered, calm but surprised. A cryopod, still functional. On a crashed escape ship not far from here, she leaned closer. Is there someone inside? Yes, the AI said. One life form. Human in stasis. Her. Eyes widened. A memory came back in a flash. A man's hand in hers. Fire behind them, her voice saying, I'll find you again. Then darkness. She grabbed her gear and rushed to the airlock. Snow blew across the landing field as she stepped outside. The cold bit her face. But it couldn't touch the fire inside her anymore. She followed the signal through the storm. Winds screamed like ghosts and shapes moved behind the snow. She kept going, through wreckage and ice, until she saw the broken escape ship. Half buried in snow, metal panels twisted, engines blackened. But the cryopod inside glowed softly, still running after all these years. She wiped frost from the glass. Inside was the man from her visions. He looked peaceful, frozen in time, and around his wrist a small bracelet with her name engraved. On it, Lyra, she placed her hand on the pod, heart heavy with memory and hope. Unit 9, she whispered. Can we bring him back? Yes, the AI replied, but his body shows signs of early infection. Likely dormant. She stepped back. The wind howled louder as if the planet itself wanted to stop her. If I wake him, she said, the infection might return. If you leave him, Unit 9 replied, you'll lose the last piece of who you were. She looked at the man again. Somewhere in her heart, she knew him. Knew he had stayed behind to protect her. Knew he had loved her. Even after she forgot, Lyra closed her eyes. The choice was hers now, she whispered. Then, I choose to love again. She pressed the release switch and the pod hissed open. Warm air poured out. And the man inside began to stir. His eyes blinked slowly, and the first thing he saw was her. She reached for his hand and smiled. You're home, she said. And for the first time in 100 years, the warmth wasn't just from the heaters. It came from something else, something deeper, a heart reborn. Snow fell quietly. Over the broken land, Lyra sat beside the cryopod, watching the man breathe. His chest moved slowly, his skin pale but warm again. The heaters inside the pod had done their job. But the infection still lingered in his blood silent. Sleeping, waiting, his eyes opened, slow and unsure. They were dark, full of questions. But when he looked at her, something inside them softened. Lyra, he whispered, voice dry like wind over dust. She nodded, blinking away the tears in her eyes. I found you, she said softly. His name came back to her like a whisper. Unan, she said, your name is Unai. He smiled, weak but real. You always remembered. He said, no, she replied, voice trembling. I forgot everything. But my heart didn't. He tried to sit up, and she helped him. His body was stiff, his breath uneven. but he was alive. The last survivor, just like her, they sat together inside the wrecked ship, surrounded by metal bones and broken memories. Above them, the outpost's lights flickered faintly through the storm. "Where is everyone?" he asked. "Gone," she said, "evacuated." Long ago, his face fell. He looked around, eyes landing on the broken panels. "The frost-covered walls? We were too late," he said. "Not too late," she said quickly. "We're still here." He looked at her again, and she saw the truth behind his eyes. "Guilt, Lyra," he said quietly. "I stayed behind. Not just for research." She tilted her head, waiting. "I knew I was infected," he said. "I knew there was no cure, but you froze yourself," she said. "You stopped it." "I tried," he whispered, "but I can still feel it. Like a shadow inside me." Her heart ached. Even after all this time, he still carried the fear. The burden. "You're not alone anymore," she said, holding his hand, "and we'll face it together." He closed his eyes, leaning into her. "Warmth, I dreamed about you," he said. "Every year, every second. I never let go." Suddenly, a sharp beep echoed through the ship, a signal flashing red on a nearby console. Lyra stood and rushed to it. The screen showed movement outside, near the outpost, Unit 9. She called through her comm. "Do you see this?" The AI's voice came through, weaker than before. "Yes." "Multiple heat signatures approaching. More infected." She asked. "Unknown," it replied. "But they are not human." UN stood slowly, gripping the wall for support. "We can't stay here," he said. She helped him move toward the exit. "We go back to the outpost," she said. "We still have power," and Unit 9, as they stepped into the snow. The wind hit them hard, but this time they leaned into it, side by side. Lyra kept one hand on her pipe, the other on Aaron's arm. Shapes moved in the distance, too many to count. Tall, thin, wrong. The infection had awakened. It had sensed Aaron's return. It wanted him back. They reached the outpost door and sealed it behind them. Warmth hit their faces. The soft hum of machines still alive inside. Unit 9 spoke again. "Lyra, containment protocols are failing. They are learning faster now." "How many?" she asked. "Dozens." The AI replied. "Some are forming words, copying voices." ON looked at the screens and pointed to one of the video feeds. "They're mimicking our movements." He said, "Look, one of the creatures was walking like Lyra, head tilted, holding a stick. Another had Aaron's face glitched, twisted, smiling wrong." "They don't just want us," Lyra said. "They want to be us." She turned to the eye. "Can we still activate the final part of Project Hearth?" There was silence. Then Unit 9 said, "Yes. But the core must be connected to both of you. It requires shared memory." "What does that mean?" Una asked. Lyra took his hand. "It means we have to remember together." They sat near the core chamber, wires wrapped around their arms. Cute 9 guided them gently. "Close your eyes," it said. "Think of each other. Not the war, not the pain, but the feeling." Lyra breathed deeply. She remembered the old ship, the sound of Aaron's laugh, the night sky above Earth. She remembered dancing in a lab corridor, stolen time before the chaos. She remembered holding his hand as alarms rang, choosing to stay, choosing love. Un saw to her eyes. Her courage, her sacrifice. He saw her in the fire, the frost, the dark. And always moving forward, even when broken, she was light. The core pulsed. Warmth flooded the room, spreading through wires, machines, walls. The infection froze outside, confused, unable to copy what it couldn't understand. Love freely given. Lights filled the outpost, bright, soft, golden, and for the first time the infection stopped. It didn't scream, didn't twist. It just stood still. Unit 9 spoke, voice stronger than before. "The signal has been sent." A wave of emotion across all frequencies. Hope, memory, love. Yuan opened his eyes, smiling through tears. "You did it?" he whispered. "No," Lyra said, holding his hand. "We did." The outpost stood tall against the cold. The last survivors together, heart to heart. The golden light from the core spread like sunrise through the frozen outpost. It touched the walls, the broken halls, and even the snow outside seemed to glow for the first time in 100 years. Warmth returned, not just to machines, but to hearts, and outside, the infected creatures stopped. They stood like statues, caught in confusion. They didn't scream, didn't move, they simply listened. Lyra stood by the control panel, watching the data scroll across the screen. The signal from Project Hearth had reached full strength. It carried something the infection had never heard before, not commands, not orders, but feeling. The raw emotion of shared memory, of sacrifice, of love. Behind her, Yuan sat beside the glowing core, his hand still trembling from the connection. He looked up at her and smiled. They stopped. Because they felt something, didn't they? Lyra nodded slowly. They didn't understand it, but they recognized it. Unit 9's voice came through the speaker. Softer than before, they did not freeze from fear, but from awe. Lyra turned to the window. The creatures outside had dropped their mimicry, their faces now blank, one by one. They walked away into the storm. No violence, no sound, just fading footprints in the snow. "Will they come back?" Yuan asked. "I don't know," she replied. "But now they know there's something they can't copy." He nodded. "And maybe that will make them." Pause. The outpost, once silent and forgotten, now hummed with a gentle rhythm. The greenhouse blinked online again, tiny plants reaching up toward artificial light. The heaters worked, the hallways glowed, and Unit 9 had fully restored its core systems. Lyra walked through the halls, remembering each room. They no longer felt like tombs. They felt like memories. She found the old command chair and sat down. The same place she had chosen to stay behind all those years ago. The AI spoke. Again, final system check complete. Energy levels stable. Lyra smiled. "For a place left behind, this feels alive again. You made it alive." Unit 9 replied. Yuan joined her, standing beside the chair. "What now?" he asked. She looked up at him. "We find out if anyone else is still out there?" He raised an eyebrow. "After all this time?" She nodded. "If we survived, maybe others did too." He smiled and sat beside her. "We always were terrible at giving up, thankfully," she replied, grinning. Suddenly, a small light blinked on the communications panel, a long-range beacon. Lyra leaned forward and activated it. The screen buzzed, static at first, then a voice, faint, broken, but real. "This is Station Argus. Receiving unknown emotional data wave. Origin, unclear." Repeating, "Who sent that signal?" Lyra's heart leaped. She tapped the mic and spoke clearly. "This is Commander Lyra, Terra Guard, Science Division, Outpost Theta. We are alive, there." Was a long silence. Then came the reply. "God, we thought no one survived down there. We're sending a team. Hold your position." Hun leaned back, stunned. "You did it?" Lyra turned to him. "We did it," she said again. Hours passed, but they no longer felt heavy. The outpost was warm. The corridors alive with quiet energy. Lyra and Yuan worked side by side, rebuilding systems, clearing frost, planting new seeds in the greenhouse. Each small action was a message to the universe. We are still human, and humanity is not made of steel or ships or perfect minds. It's made of mistakes, hope, memory, and the will to begin again. That night, they sat near the window, watching the stars return through the clearing sky. Yuan reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. They sat in silence, the kind that speaks louder than words. the kind filled with warmth. "Do you think we can leave now?" he asked. "Maybe," she said, "but this place, it matters now." He nodded. "It's not just ruins anymore." "No," she whispered. "It's a reminder. A reminder that even in the coldest place, even when forgotten, love can grow and warmth can survive far above them." The rescue ship broke through the clouds, its lights bright and fast, cutting through the dark. Lyra stood and watched it approach, Uwan beside her, Unitine's voice in her ear. "Do you trust them?" the AI asked. "I trust us," she said. "That's enough." The outpost doors opened wide for the first time in a century. Light poured in, and Lyra stepped out to meet it. Not alone, not cold, not abandoned. She was human, and she had been saved not by fire, not by steel, but by the warmth of a human heart.